These are some of the trades that we caught last week. Some of these trades had a risk to reward of 1:10, 1:7, 1:5. You can go through our previous videos to see the actual trades. Now, we're going to be breaking down those trades for you so that you can learn from them and maybe next time be able to use the same setups. We're on a weekly time frame, all right? And as you can see, this particular candle here was the previous week that we just finished. This was the previous week. This is the new week that we are in currently, and we're actually on a running trade, but this was the previous weeks, right? This was the previous week. Before this week started, while analyzing for this week, we looked at this particular candle here. We could tell that this candle was bullish, right? What did we expect? We're expecting that price will come back down, like I always say, to the 50% level of the previous week, which was around 2685, right? If you go watch our previous video, you see we spoke about that. So we're expecting for price to come down here, but if you notice, price didn't come down to 2685 during last week's movement. Price stopped around 270.809 thereabout, right? And from there, price pushed up. Now, there was a reason for this. We'll go to a lower time frame and we'll see what happened, right? Because as price opened that week, price just immediately began to push up without even coming down. So we would explain that much later. So guys, before I continue, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video so that others can get to see this. Thank you so much. So as the week opened, the first day of the week, which was Monday, what happened was that price just began to shoot up. Price didn't even come down. Let's go to a lower time frame so we'll see things better. Yeah, so guys, as you can see now, this is the 1 hour time frame, right? So as the week opened, as the new week opened, this particular week, you can see what happened here. Price just began to shoot up. Price just began to shoot up, right? And that was I didn't quite expect that. Price just began to shoot up. So for that Monday, I left the charts alone, right? I was still hoping the price might come down to this 2685 as price began to drop that day, but price didn't actually get there. So as the next day started again, price began to shoot up again. Now, when this next day started, I was hoping that price would actually start to go down, right? Price might, I hope that price would go up a little, but price would then start to drop. But instead of dropping, what happened? Price kept going up. Price didn't come down. And the reason I was expecting price to drop was because looking at the previous day, which was Monday, the day had closed bearish, right? So guys, this is what we're talking about. This day, the first day of that week, the day had closed bearish with a red candle, right? So I expected that price would go back up a little and then probably start to drop again and then come to this point that we were hoping for price to come down to 2685. But as you can see, price did the opposite. Price just went up and price was very bullish and price closed very bullish, right? So let's go back to the 1 hour time frame. So seeing now that the first day Monday closed bearish, we were hoping that price in the next day would go up, right? So during this Asian session here, I suspected that price was actually going to go up, right? Because I expected that if price goes up, price would now look for a way to start coming back down, to come back down to where we're expecting for price to come down to, right? But what did price do? As price went up, price broke this point and kept going up. So I didn't actually take a trade here because I was actually looking for sales from this point. But the way price formed and price went up and broke this point, that made me stay away from the market. So I was waiting to observe the market and to see what will happen next. So the next day was when we were not able to catch a trade. So as we enter the next day, this Tuesday, remember Monday closed very bearish with a red candle. Tuesday closed very bullish with a green candle. We will be expecting that the next day, Wednesday, would also close very bullish. But what happened? As the day started, price pushed down a little, right? And then price now pushed back up. So as price went up and bought, then price began to, print bearish candles from here. And then I saw and I knew that price was now getting ready to drop. Now, how did I know that price was about to drop? Now, it was simple. Looking at this 1 hour candle, I could see that this 1 hour candle here that formed very bearish was an engulfing candle. As I saw that, and I saw these other candles here by the side, this you can call this a head and shoulders pattern, right? This is the left shoulder, this is the head, and then this is the right shoulder, right? I waited for the next candle to see what will happen. Now, the next candle was more or less like a doji, as you can see. and then that was giving me the confirmation that I needed, right? Price was refusing to push up. It was showing us here that sellers were getting strong and buyers were having difficulty pushing this price up. So I waited for the next candle. This next candle was where we're now looking for what we're now looking for, right? Now we had to go down to a lower time frame to be able to now see what's really happening here in this zone to now determine whether or not we can actually go in on this trade, right? So we went down to the 15 minutes time frame, right? And like as you can see now, you can see it clearly, right? This is the left shoulders, this is the head, and the right shoulder was now beginning to form here. So I could not see that there were multiple rejections from here, right? As you can see, this was now becoming a strong resistance area, all right? So I could see that the strong resistance was forming from here. Now all I needed to see was price rejecting from here and then breaking through these lines gradually. It was at this doji now that I now went in on that sell, right? After price formed this doji, right? As price went up a little, I entered in on this sell here because I now knew that yes, price was now ready to go down. As soon as we got in on this trade, price just began to tank. The first profit target was this point, 2738, right? This was the main profit target I was looking at for price to get here. I suspected that price would actually break and go lower, looking at the way price had formed, but I wasn't so certain. So this was the main place I was looking at. So as price got to this place, I began to watch to see what will happen. The next thing, price was printing well, looking good, and then price broke downwards and continued to tank down, right? It continued to tank and came down to this level, 2721. So as soon as price got to this point, 2715 thereabouts, that was where we closed our trade. That was where we took our profits, right? That was where we took our profits. And then from there, we now began to watch the market to see what will happen. So this trade happened to be a risk to reward of 1:10, as you can see, 1:10, and that was how we were able to catch these sales. As you can see, simple as that. Simple head and shoulders reversal pattern. We took note of that, and we got on the trade. Now remember that whenever the market is very bullish, you need to be very careful selling. All right. So in as much as we knew at that moment, at this point, the market was still very bullish, but we saw a clear opportunity for a sell, and that was why we went in on the market, right? So after we were done with that trade, we now began to watch the market, right? One out of these two things will most likely happen. It's either price will keep pushing down and go to this point that we wanted it to come to, or price will consolidate in this area. Now, based on certain things and other factors that we saw, I could tell that price was getting ready to buy. So I was watching the market closely, and then I saw how here, remember this is the 15 minutes time frame, price began to consolidate here and give us signs that price wants to go up and break up, right? I didn't take the buys here, right? I took the buys from here. Now, I could have taken the buys from here, but I just decided to let the market do its thing, right? So I watched the market, and as price began to form, if you look closely, you can see that this is a head and shoulders. This is the left shoulders, this is the head, and this is the right shoulders, and price broke through, came back down, retested this point, and then pushed up, right? So it was clear that price was now beginning to give signs that price wants to move up, and so we're getting ready to catch the buys. As price got here, this was during the Asian session, right? And I always tell people the Asian session is a good time to buy, is a good time to trade rather. The Asian session is a good time to trade. So price had done its thing, right? And I'd seen all that I needed to see here, the heads and shoulders and the whole the whole reversal pattern that I needed to see here. And all I needed was just certain rejections indicating to me that price was now getting ready to move, right? So as soon as I saw these rejections, these bullish candles pointing upwards during this Asian session, I knew that price was getting ready to move. So I came in on the buys here. As price went up, came back down, came in took another entry, and then we rolled this up. And that's how we're able to catch these buys. Now, this is a trade of 1:7. thereabout. But now we didn't catch this whole move, right? What happened here? We didn't catch this whole move, but price stopped around here, so we didn't get the whole 1:7. This was about 1:6 thereabout or so, and so we closed the trade out from this point. You know, it's one thing to have a good entry, it's another thing to know when to exit the market. You must not only have good entry strategies, you must also have a good exit strategy, such that you maximize all the, you maximize the whole setup of it, you maximize the whole profit in that trade. Imagine I didn't get out of this at this point, right? And we allowed the market to keep playing around and price now tanked. If you see that Monday closed bearish, Tuesday closed bullish, and then Wednesday closed very bearish, right? Now, even though Wednesday closed bearish, if you go to the higher time frame, you notice that yes, it closed very bearish, but it did not break structure, right? It didn't break a structure, it only swept it, right? So in as much as it was very bearish, one would be thinking and expecting that price will go down, right? I suspect that price might not just easily go down like that. And that's the reason you see now that price is struggling and consolidating in this whole area, right? Because price didn't quite break it. Now, this was Monday. Monday closed bearish. Look at where it closed. Tuesday closed bullish. Then Wednesday now tanked and also closed bearish, right? Good. Now, in as much as it closed bearish, did you notice that it did not close below this week of the previous day? Can you notice that it didn't close below the week of the previous day? It didn't. It only swept it. So it was a full bearish candle. So one would think, okay, the next day also will start to tank. But I suspected that it will have difficulty tanking. Why? Because it did not break this place. It did not break the structure. It only swept it. So price, yes, will come down, but it might not break here. All right. It might begin to consolidate, which that was what it actually ended up doing. All right. So we're able to catch these buys up, like I said, and then we caught a sell here. We caught a sell. Now let's go back down to the lower time frame, the 15 minutes. So we see what we're talking about. Now looking at the 15-minute chart, all right, you can remember we talked about this buy that we caught. Then the next day, the Asian session again. Like I said, the Asian session is a good time to trade. So we waited for the next day after we caught this trade to observe and see what was happening. Price was giving us our normal pattern that we always look out for. Also, this is a Asian during the Asian session there are certain things we look out for, right? So price was giving that to us, right? And we saw a good opportunity to enter. Price was going down, and we knew that price will continue to go down, right? And then this bullish candle pushed up. Now we took our first sales. Actually, we took our first sales this day from somewhere here. We took our first sale from somewhere here. So it came down about 1:1 point something, 1:1.5, right? And then we said break even. We posted all these things in our Telegram group. They're there with the actual trades, right? So it came back up, took us at a break even, and then we kept watching the markets. The moment I saw these two rejection, then we knew that price was getting ready to drop again, and so we entered in somewhere around here, right? The second trade, and then we rolled it down to this point and we came out. Now, although I was watching the market to actually see if it's going to break, because remember, we only use the information given to us on the chart to come up with different probabilities of what we think will happen. We don't actually control the market, and we cannot actually decide what the market will do. So anything can actually happen, right? So I was watching to see if price will actually break lower. Then as price began to form the way it was forming, creating all these double bottom and all that stuff, right? I suspected the price was actually going to go back up. So this was how we caught these sells here. So guys, that same day, as we observed the movement of price during that same day, price was consolidating around here. As I saw this, I knew that price wants to go up, right? I had the opportunity to enter buys from here, but I didn't. I intentionally waited, right? I just wanted to observe and see what was going to happen. Because if you look here closely, you see that a head and shoulder pattern also formed here. You see that this was the the left shoulder, this was the head, and this was the right shoulder. And you can see that price actually pushed up, broke up, and then through from this rejection candles here is where you would have entered your buys. And if you observe all the trades that I've been showing you guys, you'll notice that they are all similar. The setups are similar. The setups are usually similar, right? Very similar. So you would have entered your buys from here, but I chose not to get in on this trade because I just decided to keep watching to see what will happen. So price kept moving. Then the New York session came. When New York second session came, I saw a much more bigger heads and shoulders forming and printing itself. This whole place here was the left shoulder, this whole place was the head, and this whole place was the right shoulder, right? Or this place was the right shoulder, this place was the first right shoulder. Now this was the neckline. So price broke this point, right, and came down, retested its ozone, and then starts to give us rejection. Now those rejections are your signs to get into the market. Whenever you see those rejections at a key zone, at a key point where you know that there's a support around that point, you know that that's your time to get in. And like I tell people, whenever I get in on a trade, I always like to be in profit in nothing less than between, let's say, 5 to 10, 15, maximum 20 minutes. Our trade shouldn't just keep running and staying in drawdown for so long. All right, we should go in profit as soon as we can. So as I saw this rejection, we entered in at the close of this red candle. Right, we wanted to see how this red candle will close, so we entered in at the close of this red candle. As price began to push in the next candle, that was where we entered our buys, and price shot up, and then was going up. Now the thing about this trade is we could have left this trade, but we didn't. We were watching to see how price will react at this resistance, right? As price got here, price began to come down. So we took our profits from this tip here. So it was not the complete, risk to reward. We took our profit from this tip, at this tip here, where price began to reverse down from at this tip. Like I said, it's always good to know when to exit the market. We took our profit from this tip here, and price began to now drop. Now, as price began to drop, we're excited because I felt price was going to come back down to this point, then I'll get in again, right? But price didn't come down to that point. Price just started to go back up, and then finally got to our take profit area, right? And the next thing was the next day, price dropped. It didn't continue going up. So guys, that was how we ended the week. That was how we closed the week. And now this is Monday of this new week, and as you can see, we're in on this trade. We posted it already on our different platforms. Came in around here, and if you look at this whole trade, this setup, you notice that it's the same setup with all the ones I just showed you guys, right? It's the same setup. So guys, we came in at this around this point, and price went up. Now this is a trade setup of risk to reward of 1:5, right? We've gotten to about 1:2.5 or 3, right? And price is now beginning to slow down in that point. Now I'd already on the video that we made, I already told everybody that things might play out a little bit slow, right? And I've already put this trade in break even because I don't trust this market. The way the market is forming, price might drop or price might move up, right? So we're not really certain at the moment, and although it's looking good, right? And also remember, this is the NFP week, so you have to trade with caution. I've noticed that during NFP week, people always blow their accounts, so trade with caution, guys. So guys, this was how we cut all these trades. Right, guys? Like I said, make sure to subscribe, follow, and share so that others will find this. If this was helpful, make sure you like, comment, let me know what you think in the comment section. And just one more thing, guys, as much as possible, try to make your trading simple. Don't complicate trading. Try to make it simple. Peace out, guys.